All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off here, showing just at the bottom of the hour. So let's start. So again, this is Essential Habits for New Admins, and I'm Mark Baseman, Senior Admin Evangelist. So little too eager here. Before we get started, I want to remind you that Salesforce is a publicly traded company, so please make your purchasing decisions based only on currently available products and services. And a quick reminder that we are on social media, so please connect with us. We are on Twitter at Salesforce Admins No I, and of course you can connect with us and other awesome admins using the hashtag AwesomeAdmin. We're also Salesforce Admins with an I on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And of course, you can find us on the Salesforce Admins website at admin.salesforce.com. We have all sorts of useful things there. This video is being recorded. This will be posted to YouTube and our webinar recap page. Right now, that's showing on that video is the previous version of this presentation, but this is being recorded today, so you will definitely get the updated version of the presentation shortly at that URL. You can also post your question in the admin webinar group. And we'll be answering those questions after the session is completed today. So I'll go in there and see what questions that you've posted and do my best to answer them. Note that the URL is case sensitive here, so make sure you do a capital A, capital W, capital G. And if you're already in the Trailblazer community, you can just look for the group Salesforce Admins Webinars. So as Salesforce admins, you drive results and deliver business value every day in your role. And it's really impressive. You automate processes and make them more efficient. In fact, every day on the platform, there are 10 billion flow processes created. You build amazing reports and dashboards to drive insights and provide increased transparency at your organizations. There's 60 million reports that you create or run every day on the platform, and that's incredible. And with mobile, you give your users the freedom and flexibility to do their job wherever they are. There are now more than 700,000 daily active users on the Salesforce mobile app, and that's all thanks to the innovation that you're driving. And every time you customize Salesforce, you personalize the user experience and help your users and executives do their jobs better. Salesforce would not be what it is today without your passion and dedication. Awesome admins are really at the heart of Salesforce. Every day you're driving innovation at your companies and creating that all-important 360-degree view of both your business and your customers. You use Salesforce to do incredible things, create customized solutions to solve business challenges, and deliver real business value to help your colleagues and fellow admins succeed. At Salesforce, we believe the business of business is doing good, and we see you doing that every day. You're paving the path for others and helping them grow in the Salesforce economy. Building an admin career is about understanding your core responsibilities and creating repeatable habits that will make you and your organization successful. I want to share this quote with you to express why building habits is so valuable. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. I want you to keep this quote in mind throughout the webinar today as we're talking about the different habits that you'll rely on as an awesome admin. We've identified 5 core responsibilities that all Salesforce admins share. And these responsibilities are user management, data management, security, actionable analytics, and underlying all of this, your own personal success. Now we're going to discuss each of these responsibilities in more detail to ensure that you understand what they entail. And then we'll share a few suggested habits for each of these responsibilities that you can adopt that will help you define your awesome admin career. So let's dive in. The first core responsibility is user management. And managing users consists of a variety of activities, some of which are technical and some of which are not. They range from basic tasks like creating new users and resetting passwords to advanced activities like rolling out a change management plan for a new department. You'll also be designing the user experience. So that means thinking about how your user's homepage looks when they log in, what apps they might need easy access to, and what objects and fields they see when they're looking at an individual record like a contact or an account. But that's not all. You're also responsible for regularly communicating with your users. So make sure that you understand how people are actually using Salesforce to do their jobs, and if changes need to be made to Salesforce to help them be more effective. And of course, letting people know there will be upcoming changes to Salesforce when you're going to make them. Finally, you're responsible for user training and adoption. That means making sure that everyone knows how they're supposed to use Salesforce. Everything from making sure they can log in and reset their password to creating a new record like a contact and everything else that you're asking people to do. And of course, tracking that information over time so you can see how effectively they're using the system, or maybe not. Now let's talk about some good user management habits with some suggested timeframes for you to perform those habits. Note that the list that I'm about to share here is not comprehensive. There are many things that you can do regularly. These are just a few ideas to help get you started. Think of these like basic spices that you keep in the kitchen cabinet. You can always add more, but these are some salt and pepper to get you started. So first, on a weekly basis, try Sabwa. This is just an acronym that we use here on the Salesforce admins team. Salesforce administration by walking around. This is just as simple as shadowing a user while they do their job with Salesforce. This can be done virtually via Zoom, Hangouts, or whatever you use, or in person. You'll definitely get a better idea of where there might be opportunities for improvement when you watch someone click around. I guarantee it. This is a great this is a great time to expand on any pain points that they're experiencing in their daily use of the platform. Weekly, you can review those adoption dashboards to see who's logging in, creating data, and using the system. And you can create walls of fame or walls of shame, if that's your thing, to highlight who's really adapting to using the system. And it will help you create a short list of who to go Sabwa with next. Monthly, we recommend checking in with your stakeholders. Stakeholder is just a fancy word for people who lead a team that has a business process embedded in Salesforce, like your sales manager if you're using Sales Cloud, or your fundraising manager if you're using Nonprofit Cloud. You can use that check-in meeting to highlight user success stories and to find out if there are upcoming changes to the business that might affect how Salesforce is being used. A quarterly documentation review is always a good idea to make sure that your business processes still match with the docs that you've created. And annually, doing a user audit is really important, just to make sure there aren't still active Salesforce users in your Salesforce instance that maybe don't work at the company anymore, or there are people with the incorrect profiles permissions. So those are just a few of the habits, and actually I'll go back here just to give you a minute. So these are just some of the habits for user management that you might want to do. And you can go ahead and take a screenshot of this. Again, the slides will be available after this. Let's talk about the second core responsibility here, data management. Managing data is probably the most technical of your core responsibilities. This involves activities like app customization and automation to ensure that data is being displayed and updated according to your business processes, and your object model is set up correctly for ease of reporting. You also want to make sure that your data, of course, is clean so people trust what's in Salesforce. So you can set up duplicate management rules and regularly clean your data. You can also modify the user interface by creating validation rules and automation in the form of processes or flows to prevent people from entering poor or incomplete data in the first place. And finally, integration with other systems is key. Make sure that if you are integrating with other systems that you have a dedicated integration user and that you know where data is coming from at all times. Let's share a few good data management habits. One of the most important habits is to download your data export files every week. Salesforce provides a zip file, which includes CSV exports of the objects that you select. And I'll demo how to enable this a little bit later in the session. This takes about 30 seconds and is a super easy habit to do. I recommend that you do this on the weekend so that you get the previous week's changes. Every week, you can also review your duplicates and see exactly what records people have created or what records the system prevented people from creating, depending on how you have your duplicate rules set up. It can then help to revisit your documentation and see if you've trained people to search first before entering new data. You can throw a monthly donuts and deletions party on there where you gather everyone together virtually or in person and go through unused reports, fields, and data and use it as a reason to purge the junk from your org and keep things streamlined, and with donuts or other fun food of choice. You can also monthly do a refresh of your sandboxes and make sure that they have the latest changes from your production org. This is especially helpful around the 3 core releases per year, as you'll want to use your sandbox to test out those latest features that are coming. Make sure to look at the release details, which will tell you if you need to refresh your sandbox or if it will be automatically upgraded. Running the Salesforce Optimizer every quarter is a really great way to identify areas where you can make improvements to your Salesforce org. And I'll demo this so you can see what the results look like. And every year you should create or update your data dictionary, which is just a list of every single field that you're using in your Salesforce org and what's supposed to be stored there and which department or departments own that data. A data dictionary can be very, very handy, especially if you have inherited an org. I'll give you a minute to take a look at the data management calendar. And now I want to go into a short demo for user and data management. So give me a minute to bring up my Salesforce instance. Okay, I'm logged into my Salesforce org. So I do want to point out, hopefully you all know where setup is, but just in case you don't, here, go to the gear in the top right and just go to setup, and that will bring you to setup. Where I am now, and hopefully most of you are familiar with this, I'm in the users area under the administration menu. So users, I'm looking at my list of users here. Super important to know who is an active user. So these are users that do currently have access to the system, and I can see which profiles these users have. There is by default an active users and an admin users view here. So right now there's only one admin user, and that's just me, Astro, and I can see who my active users are. So important to make sure that all those people still work at your company. Next, I want to show the adoption dashboards. So this is the App Exchange. App Exchange is the best way to extend your Salesforce functionality. Hopefully you've all spent some time exploring the App Exchange here. If you haven't, I definitely encourage you to do so. In the admin and developer tools section of the App Exchange are these Salesforce adoption dashboards. So these are exactly what you think they are. They are basically dashboards to show who is logging in, when they're logging in, what are they doing when they're logging in. There's a lot of really useful stuff here. And again, to install this, all you need to do is click the green Get It Now and give it your Salesforce credentials, and then you will be able to log in to the Salesforce adoption dashboards. And they will install in your Salesforce instance. I'm going to show these a little bit later, but I'll give you a little preview here. Let me take a look at my active users. So I've got some reports already built in here. Good stuff. Let me show you the coolest thing, which is the dashboards. And let me just take a look at the user adoption dashboard. And it's not very exciting because I don't have that many users here, but you can see I probably need to work on my user logins. It's looking pretty low. Of course, it's just me, so there you go. Anyway, you get the idea. I also mentioned exporting your data. So again, this is under the data menu, data export. So you can see right now, I don't have a scheduled export. let me schedule that export. And again, this is something you can set up. It's built into the system. So generally speaking, so there are a bunch of different options here. I'm not going to go into super detail about exporting data. You can include images, documents, and attachments. You can also include Salesforce files and CRM content if you're using those various features. Note that by ticking these boxes, it will increase the size of your backup fairly significantly. So just as a heads up. Stuff that's important here. Frequency, how often do you want to do this? Again, I do recommend that you do this on the weekend so you can kind of get the previous week's changes. You can, right now, this is just a developer org, so I can only do this once a month, but you should have the ability, depending on your Salesforce org, to do this on a weekly basis. So you can set it for every Sunday at midnight or something. Again, I can give it a start time here. It's kind of it's not really an exact thing. The exact start time will depend on how busy the Salesforce servers are. The other thing that I would do is make your end date 5 years in the future, so you don't have to think about this again, and then you're done. Important. I like to tick the include all data box here in exported, but every one of these things is actually an object that is in Salesforce, both custom and standard. So there is a lot of information here. Even if you don't think you're using all of these, I think just to be on the safe side, tick the include all data box, even if you don't think you're using all of this stuff. And then the last thing that I want to show you is Salesforce Optimizer and the results of the Optimizer report. And again, Salesforce Optimizer here is just, it's got its own menu option here on the left-hand side is Optimizer. And all I need to do to run the Optimizer is click Create PDF. And it's going to pop open a window that says, hey, are you sure? Yep, I got it. Well, I've already run the Optimizer here, so let me just show you what this looks like. There's a lot of information in this report. Thing that's important here is the impact scale. Things with the 3 red exclamation points are things that you should probably pay attention to. There's a lot of information here. It's got the high impact issue. Looks like I'm running over my file storage limit, so I should probably delete some of those Salesforce Optimizer reports. But there is a lot of information in this report, so again, I highly encourage you to run the Optimizer and take a look at what's in there. Okay, let me go back to my presentation. Okay, so our next core responsibility here is security. So let's talk about all things security. As an awesome admin, you really need to be thinking about the security of your Salesforce instance. This means making sure that people have the right level of access to the system, and also that you're following industry best practices around security by doing things like mandating complex passwords, 2-factor authentication, and even setting login hours and IP restrictions if you need to do that. Make sure that you're coordinating with your IT team if you have one. That's critical to setting the right policies for Salesforce access. This is also a good time to set up a password management tool like LastPass or 1Password for yourself or for your company as a whole. As for data security, setting up a role hierarchy and sharing rules is really important in keeping those up to date. To ensure the appropriate information is shown to users, you can also set your field level security settings on each object and page layout. This is called the principle of least privilege, just the right level of access for people to do their jobs and no more. You'll also want to monitor the security health check results and confirm that you have at least a good score, and I'll demo that in a bit. So here are a few security habits you can do to ensure things are looking safe and secure in your org. Every week, you want to review the user login history, looking for unusual activity like any IP addresses in another country, repeated failed login attempts, unusual login hours, and so on. This can turn up interesting patterns that you might want to follow up on. You should have a monthly meeting with your IT and/or compliance teams to verify that your Salesforce access policies are company compliant and are also up to date. Quarterly, you can run the security health check tool to ensure that your Salesforce org is mandating best practices as it relates to key security settings. And you can also make those security adjustments right within health check to get a better score. I'm going to show this in a little bit. Annually, doing a review of your role hierarchy and sharing rules and your field level security, especially on sensitive data, is a good way to confirm that people can see just the right level of information for their job function. Again, that principle of least privilege, like I mentioned earlier. I'll pause here for a minute. Okay, let's talk about actionable analytics. You'll need to build, maintain, and share reports and dashboards with your organization so they can visually experience what information is in Salesforce. You will also want to deputize users with your company's best practices to empower them to create their own analytics, their own reports and dashboards. Then you'll want to work with leadership and executives to understand the success metrics for your business. So if you're sales, probably information about your pipeline and sales goals. If you're in fundraising, probably fundraising goals, same idea. To ensure those analytics are driving business decisions, you'll want to distinguish between what's helpful for your users to do their day-to-day job roles versus what's helpful for your management to make those key business decisions, and make sure that you've got kind of both of those covered with your analytics. You can use the standard Salesforce reporting tools, Einstein Analytics, and Tableau to assist with visualizing your business performance as a whole. Now let's dig into some of the actionable analytics habits. So every week you should review those business critical key reports and dashboards with your users and make updates as needed. You probably won't need to make changes every week, but it's really important to take a look. Monthly, you can review a report of your reports, I know, very meta, and a report of your dashboards to see who is actually using the reports that you've created. So you can, I'll show this in a little bit, but you can show, hey, when was this last run and who ran it? You can also monthly set a regular analytics meeting with your stakeholders, like your sales leaders or marketing managers, to ensure that these reports and dashboards are continuing to meet their needs and helping them drive decisions. Also, so that you can and And annually, you should confirm that the analytics that you've created are aligned with the key business metrics for the coming year and that things are shared with the right group of people. So this is things like if you're updating your annual forecasts, for instance, you want to make sure that that is included in Salesforce and that your sharing is set up appropriately. So let me show you a brief demo. Whoops, let me go back, give you a minute here to check out the calendar of habits. Okay, now let me go into the demo. Oops. Okay. So let me show you the user login history. I mentioned that earlier as a place to check out. So this is going to be under your settings here, identity, login history. You can always use the quick find to look for login history. So this allows you to see who's logging in, when they're logging in, where they're coming from, what browser and platform they're using, and so on. Lots of information. Are they logging in from Salesforce? Are they logging in from a mobile app? So very, very useful information. And if you want to do more with this file, maybe you want to monkey with it in your text, your favorite editor, you can download it. And now you have a CSV file that's downloadable that you can play with. It's opening my spreadsheet program. Oh, well, never mind. Just trust me, you can download the CSV. So that's a user login history. I mentioned the security health check. So again, that's here under security and health check. You can, again, type it in the quick find. So you can see I'm not doing particularly well here with this Salesforce instance. So this is, I probably want to bump up my security health check score. I at least want a good and probably want something better or excellent. This is comparing my security settings to kind of the Salesforce baseline standard security settings. So things like my password policies right now. So right now, there's no limit. You can type in your wrong password forever. Standard value is 3, and then your account is locked. So here, if I want to monkey with this, I can just click Edit. And I can change the password policy from, say, maximum invalid login attempts to no limit. I'm going to change that to 3. So now somebody can type in their wrong password 3 times, and then their account gets locked. And now if I refresh this, hopefully my score will go up a little bit. Hey, I made it into the good range. Cool. But there is a lot more stuff that I can and probably should do here. So you can see these critical settings, I should definitely go through and change to make sure that that I'm consistent with the Salesforce security policies. Those are just the high risk. Here are some of the medium risk security settings. Again, same idea. I can go in here, lots and lots of useful stuff. The last thing that I'm going to show here is report and dashboard folder sharing. So I mentioned the reports here. So let me go into report folder sharing. I'm not going to get into all of the who sees what here, but hopefully your reports and dashboards are organized into folders, and you can share these folders with specific users, but you can also share them with roles and public groups as well. So again, I'm not going to get into a deep security conversation here. I recommend the Who Sees What series, and we're also directing you to a Trailhead trail after this, which is going to give you even more information. Okay, let me jump back to the presentation. And let's dive into personal success, which is really the foundation of all the habits that we've talked about so far. So a lot of the personal success that we've experienced in our careers and in life comes from getting curious about a topic, consuming all the material that we can to learn as much as we can about it, and then putting those learnings into action. This is no different when it comes to being a talented and passionate Salesforce admin. Find what you're curious about and never stop learning. And Trailhead, of course, is the great place to start. Trailhead is the fun way to learn. And spend time on Trailhead. Another aspect of your personal success in the Salesforce ecosystem is active participation within the community. So we're using this as a broad term because it encompasses every corner of interaction, whether that's online in the Trailblazer community or on social media, or in person at community group meetings, meet and greets, world tour events, or of course, Dreamforce. Both online and offline, there's a lot of ways for you to connect with people in the ecosystem and give back by answering questions. And last, and maybe most important, we encourage you to create a personal V2 Mom. This is a guiding document for you that encompasses your goals for the year, and all of the details can be found in our trail mix. So let's finish up by taking a look at a couple of personal success habits. So we want you to set that weekly time block to get on Trailhead and continue your learning journey. Also, listen to newly released episodes of the Salesforce Admins podcast every week. Every month, plan to attend community group meetings and Salesforce events virtually or in person. You can find these all on the Trailhead community group site. Every quarter, check that release readiness website to see the latest features and updates from Salesforce. And annually, create that V2 Mom. So we just went through those 5 core responsibilities and the habits to help you succeed, but these are just a starting point for you to create your own habits that work for you and your organization. So what's next? Connect with us, keep learning, find us online. Here's where we are. There is a trail mix, which is right here, Essential Habits Trail Mix. We can't wait to see you put these habits into action. So as we wrap up here, questions go in that admin webinar group. There is a survey. We do look at those results. Please fill that out. And the slides are going to be at that bit.ly URL here shortly. With that, thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. Hope you found this webinar valuable. And please fill out that survey. Let us know what you thought. This is a revamped version of our original survey, so hope you found it valuable. Thanks so much for joining, everyone.